lost ticket. Daniel sat on the park bench, staring at the small, crumpled lottery ticket in his hand. He had found it that morning, tucked inside an old book on his shelf. At first, he almost threw it away, but something made him check the date. It was from last year. For some reason, his heart started beating faster. What if this was the winning ticket? What if he had been a millionaire this whole time and didn't even know it? He laughed at the thought. Daniel, the millionaire. That was a joke. His life was the complete opposite of luxury. He had been working the same boring office job for 6 years. Every morning, he took the same train, sat at the same desk, ate the same tuna sandwich for lunch, and counted the hours until he could go home. But now, this little piece of paper had changed everything. He jumped up from the bench and rushed to the nearest convenience store. The cashier, a teenager with blue hair and an unimpressed expression, barely looked at him as he placed the ticket on the counter. "Can you check this for me?" Daniel asked, trying to keep his voice calm. The teenager sighed, took the ticket, and scanned it. Daniel held his breath. Then, the boy frowned. "This ticket is expired." Daniel felt his stomach drop. Expired. The deadline to claim the prize was 2 months ago. The boy handed the ticket back. Too bad. Maybe it was a winner. Daniel walked out of the store in a daze. His mind was spinning. What if I had checked it earlier? What if I lost a fortune? For the rest of the day, he couldn't focus. What if that ticket had been his chance to escape his boring life? His chance to do something different? That night, he lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. He felt like he had missed something important. And then, a new thought came to him. Why did I need a lottery ticket to change my life? He didn't know the answer, but suddenly he wanted to find out. The next morning, Daniel woke up with an idea. He was going to change something. He didn't know what yet, but his life couldn't stay the same. The thought of that expired lottery ticket still burned in his mind. He had spent years waiting for luck to change things for him. But what if he didn't wait anymore? As he got dressed, he made a small decision. Today, he would not take the train to work. It was a ridiculous idea. The train was the fastest way. But Daniel wanted to do something different, no matter how small. So, he grabbed his bag and walked out the door. He took the long route through the city. The air was crisp, the streets busy, with people rushing to work. Without the train, he noticed things he had never paid attention to before. The smell of fresh bread from the corner bakery, the street musician playing an old love song, the little bookstore with a sign that read new beginnings start with a good book. Daniel smiled. Maybe this was stupid. Maybe this was nothing. But for the first time in years, he felt awake. When he finally arrived at work, he was 30 minutes late. His boss, Mr. Gray, gave him a sharp look. "Daniel, you're late." "Yes," Daniel said simply. Mr. Gray raised an eyebrow. "Why?" Daniel hesitated. "Because I wanted to feel alive. Because I realized I've been sleepwalking through my life." Instead, he just said, "I walked today." Mr. Gray sighed. "Well, Don't make it a habit. But Daniel wasn't listening. He was looking at the papers on his desk, the same reports he had been working on for years. And for the first time he wondered, do I even want to be here? That night, as he walked home, he passed by the little bookstore again. The sign still read new, beginnings start with a good book. Daniel stopped, took a deep breath, and stepped inside. A small bell rang as Daniel stepped into the bookstore. The place smelled like old paper and fresh coffee, and soft jazz played in the background. Shelves stretched from floor to ceiling, filled with stories waiting to be discovered. Behind the counter, an older man with silver hair and round glasses looked up from his book. He smiled. First time here. Daniel nodded, his fingers tracing the spines of the books. He wasn't sure why he had walked in. Maybe it was the sign outside. Maybe it was the feeling that something in his life needed to change. Looking for anything special? The man asked. Daniel hesitated. I don't know. The man chuckled. That's the best way to find the right book. He walked over to one of the shelves and pulled out a worn paperback. Here, try this one. Daniel looked at the title, The Man Who Woke Up. The cover showed a man standing at the edge of a mountain, looking out at an open sky. What's it about? Daniel asked. The man smiled. It's about a guy who realizes he's been living the same day over and over again. So one morning, he decides to do something different. Daniel stared at the book. It felt like the universe was speaking directly to him. He flipped through the pages and read a random line. Change starts the moment you stop waiting for it. Something inside him stirred. He had spent years waiting for a promotion, for something exciting to happen, for a lucky break. He had even waited for a lottery ticket to change his life. But what if he was the one who had to change it? He bought the book and tucked it under his arm. As he walked out of the store, he realized something. He had no idea where this journey was leading him. But for the first time in a long time, that didn't scare him. It excited him. That night, Daniel sat at his tiny kitchen table, the book open in front of him. He had already read 3 chapters, and each word felt like a whisper in his ear, telling him something he had known all along but had been too afraid to admit. The man who woke up didn't wait for permission. He made a list of things he had always wanted to do, and then he did them. Daniel put the book down and stared at the blank page of his notebook. A list. That was simple enough. He picked up a pen and, without thinking too hard, started writing. Quit my job. Travel somewhere new. Try stand-up comedy. Learn to cook something besides toast. Tell Sarah how I feel. Daniel paused at number 5. Sarah, his best friend. The one person who always made him laugh, who always believed in him more than he believed in himself. She had no idea how he felt. He had never told her because that wasn't something Daniel did. He avoided risks, avoided embarrassment. But maybe that was exactly why he needed to do it now. The next morning, Daniel walked into the office and sat at his desk. He looked around at the gray walls, the stacks of paper, the blinking cursor on his computer screen. His whole life had been like this, predictable, safe, colorless. His fingers hovered over the keyboard. Then, without giving himself time to think, he opened his email and typed, "Subject, my resignation." His heart pounded. His hands were shaking. This was crazy. Completely crazy. But he hit send anyway. And just like that, Daniel's life was no longer the same. Daniel stared at the screen. The email was gone. Sent. No turning back. His breath caught in his chest. What had he just done? He had no backup plan, no savings, no idea what would happen next. He was officially unemployed. A small voice in his head screamed, "Are you insane?" But another voice, quieter, but stronger, whispered, "You're finally free." At lunch, his coworker Tom leaned over. "Dude, is it true? You quit?" Daniel nodded. "Yep." Tom blinked. "Wow. What are you gonna do?" Daniel thought for a moment. "I have no idea." And for the first time, that felt exciting instead of terrifying. That evening, he went to his favorite coffee shop, the one he and Sarah always visited. She was already there, stirring her tea, completely unaware that Daniel's life had just turned upside down. "Hey, you okay?" she asked, noticing his strange expression. Daniel sat down, gripping his cup. "I quit my job today." Sarah's eyes widened. "You what?" "I quit." He let the words settle between them. "And I have something else to tell you." She leaned forward. "What is it?" His heart pounded. This was scarier than quitting his job. But if he could send that email, he could do this too. "I like you, Sarah. I mean, I've liked you for a long time, and I should have told you sooner, but I was scared." Sarah blinked. "Oh." Daniel's stomach dropped. Oh, was not the response he had hoped for. Then she smiled. "You're an idiot. I've been waiting for you to say that." Daniel laughed, partly in relief, partly because he couldn't believe what was happening. The expired lottery ticket had been his wake-up call. He had spent so much of his life waiting for luck, waiting for the right moment, waiting for certainty. But life didn't wait. And now, neither would he. A week later, Daniel stood in front of a microphone, staring at a room full of strangers. His hands were sweaty, his throat dry. This was number 3 on his list. Try stand-up comedy. What was he thinking? He wasn't a comedian. He wasn't even a funny guy in the office. Tom was. But this wasn't about being funny. It was about proving to himself that he could do things that scared him. He cleared his throat. "So, I quit my job last week. And now, instead of a steady paycheck, I have a list. A list of things that sounded like a good idea at 2 a.m. A few people chuckled. Encouraged, he kept going. "First thing on my list, quit my job. Done. Second thing, travel somewhere new. That's why I took the subway to a different neighborhood this morning. Baby steps. More laughter. He relaxed. Maybe he wasn't going to bomb after all. When his 5 minutes were up, he stepped off the stage, his heart racing. He had done it. He had actually done it. Sarah was waiting for him at the bar, grinning. That was amazing. You think so? Absolutely. And you know what? I think that expired lottery ticket wasn't a loss. It was a sign. Daniel raised an eyebrow. A sign of what? Sarah shrugged. That you didn't need luck to change your life. You just needed to wake up. Daniel thought about that. She was right. The lottery ticket had been nothing more than a piece of paper. He had spent so much time waiting for something to happen to him when, all along, he had the power to make things happen for himself. For the first time in years, Daniel felt like he had won something far greater than money. He had won his life back, and this was only the beginning.